stop by Dr. Terry Jones from the University of Missouri, St. Louis, political science professor, and he's here to help us kind of make sense of what we've missed so far tonight, because I know we have missed something. I'll start off kind of how I did with the table there. What's piquing your interest in 2013, either from tonight's conversation or anything else that you're excited to see this year?
Well, we're going to have a pitched battle between the Republicans and Democrats in the Missouri General Assembly on Medicaid expansion. Are there issues in which the two parties will get together where the governor can agree? And I think one of those might be a major bond issue to help with the infrastructure of the state, buildings on college campuses, roads, highways, and so forth.
A different way to pay for those things.
Indeed, and I think you're going to see that emerging, and like it happens in a lot of political struggles, it'll be the details more than the concept itself.
Okay, you said that you might see the two parties getting together, but do the two parties have to get together in Missouri or Illinois for that matter?
Well, in Missouri, when you have both parties in effect having some control of government, for them to return to their constituencies and say they didn't get anything done is a loser politically. So that each one has to have something to bring home that they can brag about. And they realize they have a common interest in bringing something home.
What other things motivate them in a year when they're not up for election? We heard Dr. Ken Warren talking about the fact that they pay attention to polls. Do you agree with that? And anything else that can motivate a lawmaker when they don't have to run for their office?
From the founding fathers to the present day, they are politicians, so they definitely pay attention to polls. But they're also policy wonks. They want to make a difference. That's why they got into the business, most of them, in the first place. And so they don't simply want to win elections, they want to make policy.
Jobs, 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 we've heard a lot about, not only in tonight's discussion, but from Republican leaders in Missouri. What can they accomplish? What do you see that they can actually do that could bring down unemployment in our state?
In the short run, there's very little a state government can do. It can provide long-term growth through better education, through better infrastructure, but there's no silver bullets out there to give jobs quickly. Even though the rhetoric implies that they can do something, the obvious answer is they can't.
Do you like the idea that they're competing with Kansas and other states trying to out-lower the taxes? Is that a good thing for people and for our state?
That's a competition in which ultimately everybody loses, just as competing for the Walmart within the St. Louis area. Whatever one municipality wins by having the Walmart in their borders, the other surrounding municipalities and the school districts that depend on dollars lose.
There was some talk of joining forces between a couple of states to kind of collect some sales tax on the internet and things like that.
And that movement is growing. It has over 20 states as part of it. Missouri typically is not the first to join into such efforts, and is not seemingly going to do it this year, but I think it's inevitable that it will happen.
Something else Dr. Warren mentioned was if the Medicaid expansion doesn't happen, and the governor talks about you hear different numbers, but 100,000 and up more people being added to the rolls of Medicaid, eligible for Medicaid. But something Dr. Warren mentioned earlier tonight was that what will happen to the rural hospital if it isn't expanded. Can you talk about that?
One of the features of the Affordable Care Act was uncompensated care, which provides hundreds of millions of dollars to Missouri hospitals for treating people who do not have insurance. That's going to be drastically reduced because those people, if they have Medicaid expansion, will have insurance. So hospitals are caught between a rock and a hard place because they're not going to get the uncompensated care assistance they had in the past. But if we don't expand Medicaid in Missouri, they won't have the benefits from the insurance from the Medicaid expansion. But this is the show me state. I think we have to realize that Missouri rarely adopts a major social policy in 1 year. I think we're going to see Medicaid expansion come to Missouri, but it's probably going to be 2014 or 2015 before it happens. That doesn't mean the fight doesn't start right now, but I don't think we should anticipate the fight ending within the next 6 months.
The groundwork being laid perhaps by those who
or even fought very bitterly, but understanding that this is not a one-year struggle.
Let's talk about the other side of the river in Illinois. How serious is that pension issue that we heard Amanda talking about? It's something we hear about every year.
Well, we have a very significant contrast between a fiscally conservative state like Missouri that has enough bonding capacity and a high enough rating for its credit that it can talk about issuing a $1 billion bond issue. and then a state that's overspent and overspent and overspent some more on pensions that has a very dramatic problem for which there's no understandable or foreseeable solution.
Something Amanda had mentioned earlier when we were getting ready for the show tonight too is people have to remember they're not just talking about pensions for teachers and firefighters and other state employees. They're talking about their own pensions too. Is that a factor there?
It is. All of us are pretty good when we're in our 30s and 40s of thinking that's the problem that we'll get to when we get to it. But then all of a sudden it's there and you have to deal with it. What
about the social issues in Illinois? She also mentioned that a lot of the Democratic seats picked up in the state legislature were downstate that are traditionally more conservative. Do you see the same-sex marriage issue coming back up in Illinois and passing anytime soon?
That's happening around the country. Again, if you look at the trend in terms of when states start to follow the pattern, Illinois is among the top 25. So I think we can anticipate Illinois approving same-sex marriage again within the next 2 to 3 years.
So on both sides of the river, despite those super majorities, looks like we've still got some partisan battles to be had, yeah. and of course jobs are on the table for everybody.
But in Illinois, of course, the governor is also a Democrat, so there's single-party control of all branches of government. In Missouri, we have a split with the Democratic governor and a Republican legislature.